If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
Introducing Meta Ray-Ban Display, the world's most advanced AI glasses. With a full color display built into the lens of the glasses, it's there when you need it and gone when you don't. Send and receive messages, translate or caption live conversations, collaborate with Meta AI, and more. Be one of the first to try Meta Ray-Ban Display. Visit meta.com/Meta Ray-Ban Display to book a demo and find your pair.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, boy, oh boy, in less than 24 hours, the debate will take place. It will be the final debate for New York City mayor. And I believe it is absolutely one of the most important elections in the city's modern history. And I also think in America, because if Zoran MaMdani gets in, who is a far extreme leftist, it will send a dangerous tone, not just for New York. It'll send a destructive tone to New York, and it will also cause a very serious path for the rest of the country. And that's why everybody is watching this race with such utter disbelief to see somebody with his extreme views that is handily leading the race for New York City mayor. And I believe that anything can change it. There's still, about a little less, it's 2 weeks now. But that's it, guys. It is it. It is 2 weeks from today. So if there's going to be an October surprise, please hurry up. If there's going to be some reveal about maybe where some of the questionable funds, if you will, that look questionable to me, that go into his campaign, hurry up. And if there's going to be some sort of big verbal knockout blow, we didn't see it in the last debate, between Zoran MaMdani, Andrew Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa, guess what? Tomorrow is your last chance, guys, because it's the last time that all three of them will be together on a stage. And it really is the last time that voters will get a chance to see all three of them together. And it's crisis time, guys. That's why John Catsimatidis, who's the owner and operator of Red Apple Media, he's known Curtis for a long time, as I have. Well, John is saying, Curtis, drop out for the good of the city. Because if you look at the polls, it's pretty clear. Zoran MaMdani, if the election were held today, would handily win. And there has to be something absolutely dramatic for the polls to change. And that includes the race tightening on the other side. In other words, getting rid of at least one other person on the other side. If it's a 3-person race, Zoran MaMdani wins. It's as simple as that, guys. I don't like to tell anybody to drop out. That's obviously up to everybody individually. But the stakes are so high. You look at it, the stakes are so high. And there's some information coming from Fox, which just did some recent polling, and it's not a pretty picture for New York. It says that the Democratic Socialist, or the Socialist as we should call him, Zoran MaMdani, has a 21-point lead in the race to become the mayor of New York City, with all his anti-Semitic, anti-police, it seems Italian, you name it. It looks like he is on the way to becoming the next mayor, barring some major change. And in this poll, of course, every poll is different, but every single poll has him with a significant lead. And in this particular one, with New York registered voters, it has MaMdani with a 49% backing. The closest one is Andrew Cuomo. And then less than half of what Cuomo has is Curtis Sliwa. So it has the Democratic Socialist 49%, 28% for Andrew Cuomo, and then 13% for Curtis Sliwa. This is from the Fox poll. Similar ones that we saw were pretty close to this. He didn't have as big of a lead in some of the other ones that we saw with Gotham polling, but he did have a good lead and the same numbers, where Curtis had less than half. So unless all the polls are lying, we're in crisis mode, guys. And that's the bottom line. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Now, Curtis today is saying he is not dropping out. He's not going anywhere. People are saying for the good of the city, for the good of this country, be a hero and drop out. That's the message coming from a lot of people. But Curtis says, no way, no how. I'm staying in it. Let's see what happens tomorrow, because the clock is certainly ticking. And again, right now, the way the polls are, if it's a 3-person race, Mamdani handily wins. If Curtis's voters, or at least a good chunk of them, go over to Cuomo and maybe they do some sort of coalition presentation with him and them, and then maybe Eric Adams. If the whole anti-Mamdani coalition comes together and does public service announcements telling people not to vote on their lines and instead vote for Mamdani, and they plead with New Yorkers to come on out and have one of the biggest turnouts, hopefully ever, in New York history, then maybe we got a shot. But if that doesn't happen, forget it. New York City is doomed. And sometimes, I'm telling you, you got to look at the tea leaves. This is going to be a disaster. That is the bottom line. And the more we hear about Zoran MaMdani, the more frightening it is. We're going to talk a little bit later on in the show about John Solomon's report. We talked with him earlier today, the great investigative journalist, and he uncovered some details when Mamdani arrived in Egypt as a college student. It was the time when the Muslim Brotherhood was in charge. And at the time, he, in his own words, Zoran MaMdani, spent a summer in college in Egypt. And he said at that time, it taught him, quote, the addiction of revolution. What does that mean? The addiction of revolution, in Zoran MaMdani's own words. Also, the imam, who we've seen him embracing left and right, well, that terror-linked Brooklyn imam, who he's been palsy-walsy with, this guy is not some typical imam. As we know, he was a character witness for the bomber, the 1993 bomber, saying what a lovely person that guy was. And also, at one point, he called for 10,000 men, an army of 10,000 men, to protest and to have jihad in New York City. So I would say that's a little bit of a problem, too. What are we in store for? We have never seen anything as radical and as crazy as what we're talking about now. By the way, tomorrow night at the debate, just to give you a little background, it is going to be in Queens. Remember, Mamdani's an assemblyman in Queens, and there will be a live audience. So it'll be a little different. We're going to be covering it, by the way, at WABC Radio. You can listen across the country on WABCradio.com. We'll be doing sort of live play-by-play and also great post-debate analysis. And, of course, we'll talk about it tomorrow night on the debate stage. We will talk about the latest and bring it to you here on the Rita Cosby Show. We will talk about all the details, what we thought the highlights were, the lowlights were, and was there anything that changes the dimension of the race? Because that's the biggest and most important thing of all. And yeah, it's a slim chance, but you never know. I'm an optimist, guys. I know a lot of people feel like, okay, it's a done deal. And if Curtis isn't going to drop out, well, then there won't be any change in the race. But I'm also an optimist that maybe some big discovery comes out. Again, it is still time in October to have that October surprise. And who knows what happens, especially if more polls come out that reaffirm where the things are. Curtis sounds like he's not going anywhere, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? It would be great if somehow Cuomo and Curtis got together, and then Eric Adams also. And if they did some sort of a press conference and said, here is who we are voting for. Obviously, only one can be the number one. And Cuomo right now has twice the numbers of Curtis in almost every single poll. So you can bet who wants to be the number one. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And again, tomorrow, it will be in Queens. It's going to be at the LaGuardia Community College, and there will be a live audience. They'll also be able to ask each other questions. So that's going to be interesting. Sometimes when you're able to ask a question that proves to be the most provocative or interesting. Hopefully the moderators will give them space to kind of go at it and also be fair to everybody and not coddle Mamdani with his crazy beliefs. Hopefully there'll be some questioning. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see. And in the meantime, there are so many dynamics to this race, but also a lot of new reveals about Zoran MaMdani. And that's why the stakes could not be higher. This is not a normal race. In a normal race, you say, hey, everybody, go for it. Duke it out on the stage. Duke it out in the polls. And let's see what the voters decide on election day. Just everybody kind of go for it. That's not the case. The danger of a Zoran MaMdani mayoralship in New York City would be catastrophic. Catastrophic. I cannot underscore it enough. I just was watching some video of his beloved father talking about how wonderful suicide bombers are. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And here is Zoran MaMdani. Listen to this. This is pretty incredible. This is in 2019. And guess what? I'm pretty sure Zoran MaMdani believes everything he said in 2019. These are his own words. And listen to what he said happened after 9/11. He talks about after 9/11 that they were so scared that they would be bullied or stigmatized. After 9/11, I was worried about terrorists attacking America because that's exactly what happened on 9/11. I was worried about how horrible everything was on 9/11. He was worried about not being bullied. Listen to this.
There's still, this illusion, and it's partially a result of settler colonialism, that all of us can become New Yorkers, that all of us can settle into the city. And yet there would be these moments where I would be reminded by someone whose intent was to tell me that you do not belong. And one of those first moments was on 9/11, when, before I knew what had happened, my teacher had pulled me and a Muslim classmate of mine out of the class and told us that something has happened and you may be bullied. And I want you to tell me if that happens. And frankly, I was lucky because most Muslim students in the city were not given that kind of care from their teachers. And yet in that moment, I realized that I was not simply another classmate in a middle school. I was distinct. And there was a marker of that distinction on me. And it was something that I would be reminded of again and again. It was something when we came back from a trip abroad, being pulled aside at JFK by immigration agents in a double-mirrored room, sitting me down on my own while my family was outside, and asking me if I had just attended a terrorist training camp, and if I had intentions of attacking this country, and if so, what were those plans? And it's something that has continued in the time since, where a few months ago I went with a client of mine to a bankruptcy court, and as we're going into the court, the security guard takes me aside and pats me down with additional care and asks me multiple times if I have any weapons of mass destruction on me. And in these moments, the sense of not knowing where home is, they're amplified by what I would see around me.
And what I saw around me was obviously the devastation of 9/11. I saw what happened to the Twin Towers. I wasn't thinking about, can Muslims assimilate into the city? He seems like all he was worried about was what could happen. And then he talked about a colonialism. That's how they view this. He talks about Israel, genocide, apartheid, and then he talks about colonialism against Muslims. That's what we just heard there. That's where his values are, and that's who the man who is one heartbeat away from becoming mayor of New York City, if somebody doesn't drop out of the race. Let's go to Wyman in New Jersey. Go ahead, Wyman. You're on line one. Go ahead. Your thoughts tonight.
Good evening. I was raised in New York. I love New York. And I think that Curtis, tomorrow night, on the debate stage, should announce that he is withdrawing as mayor candidate for the city of New York, for the sake of New York and for the people in it, to destroy and defeat the socialists who will absolutely destroy this city. Not only would Curtis possibly be the man of the year, but for that, he might even be mayor of New York the next time.
No, by the way, Wyman, a lot of people are saying that. A lot of people are saying, put New York above everything else, above yourself, above everything. But he'd also have to embrace the opposition against Mamdani, because the problem is dropping out. First of all, I don't see it happening. That's one. Let's talk. If you look at some of the things that he has said today in various interviews, he is steadfast that he's staying in, and doesn't care that people are begging him to drop out for the good of the city. And quite frankly, it may be even a little too late. I mean, the polls have been like this, with Curtis a distant third for many weeks, many months now. So this is not a surprise. And we're closer and closer and closer. But you're right. That would be a very powerful moment to say, you know what? I have decided I'm stepping aside for the good of the city. I'm going to be out there campaigning for Cuomo. And I'm also going to be doing a public service announcements, because the problem is, if you look on the ballots, you see Zoran MaMdani's first name because he's Democratic socialist, albeit. Then next is Curtis. And then there's Curtis on a couple other lines. Then you see Eric Adams. And then a distant down is Cuomo. So there has to be a lot of education that we're all coalescing against one particular candidate. The problem is Curtis hates Cuomo. We saw it in the last debate. He barely laid a finger at all on Mamdani. In fact, he and Mamdani were agreeing. But he was going after Cuomo. So first, you got to get over that relationship and figure out if he would ever acquiesce to Cuomo. I don't see that happening. He's hoping that, that the polls are all wrong. And maybe he's seeing something internally that we're not seeing, but the polls externally sure look not good for him. And they look a lot better for New York if the Curtis voters go over to Cuomo, or at least a good portion of them, not all, but at least a good portion of them. So let's see if there is a dramatic moment tomorrow. I don't expect that one, but there may be something else. Let's hope. 1-800-848-9222. And we'll continue your calls after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
A message from McAfee. Wondering why the post office is texting you, or why you owe thousands of dollars in toll fees? Because someone's trying to scam you. The good news? McAfee can help. With McAfee's award-winning scam detection, it's easy to tell what's real and what's fake over text, in your inbox, and online. If they're
You want a free gift.
Seriously? If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to your calls. Let's go to Eddie in New York City on line 4. Go ahead, Eddie. Your thoughts tonight.
Yes, Rita, please allow me to say what I have to say completely. First of all, the city of New York is supposed to be the city that never sleeps. We're half asleep, if not fully asleep. Where are the power brokers? Where are the people that have interest in the quality of life of the city? You don't hear a peep out of them.
Actually, Eddie, then let me speak, because they are talking, and they're loud and clear, especially recently. Most of the big power brokers have been coming out, and they are pleading with Curtis Sliwa to drop out of the race because they know this guy will destroy New York. MaMdani will.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You know the words that dominate our news cycle.
Private equity keeps inventing
generative artificial intelligence tax on home. America's chip fueled by market volatility.
Bets on Fed rate cuts.
But do you truly understand how they impact your world and your wallet? In a world that skims the what, understand the why. Because context changes everything. Subscribe to learn more at Bloomberg.com, the global benchmark for business news.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you're heading to the gym, the office, or just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has your back. So if you haven't tried it yet, head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with this plight? Aha! Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at Canva.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Annapolis, Maryland, where a police officer, Corporal Laura Pridgeon, is being heralded after saving 2 lives within 3 days this past month after she was at the right place at the right time. Now, one of the heroic rescues took place inside a grocery store after police received a call that a man had collapsed and was not breathing. So local bystanders were trying to revive him, even using CPR. And then the officer who received the call and was working nearby at the time ran to the scene. She quickly connected the man to an automatic electronic defibrillator, an AED device, whereupon she delivered a life-saving shock to revive the man. Also, other officers responded to the scene, and Officer Pridgeon continued to give critical CPR, and eventually she was able to get a pulse. Police said the man was conscious and breathing and is expected to make a full recovery thanks to the fast actions of Officer Pridgeon. And bravo, of course, to our great men and women in law enforcement everywhere. And you can bet they are very worried about Zoran MaMdani, who has already come out and said that he doesn't want the NYPD to cooperate with ICE. He also feels that even though he says, no, I'm not for defund the police, he said defund the police over and over again just a few years ago. And even now he is saying that he wants to destroy some of the different units that the police has. So I would say that's defund the police. It's pretty clear that Slick Willie Zoran MaMdani is trying to sell America a bill of goods. And everybody is concerned because if you look at the background of this guy, it is deeply, deeply concerning. Here is John Solomon, the great investigative journalist. He joined us earlier on Katz and Cosby and gave us an update on a little bit of MaMdani's radicalization. Here it is.
The leading candidate in New York's mayor's race, Zoran MaMdani, he spent a summer in college in Egypt, where the self-described democratic socialist, who wasn't even an American citizen yet, said he learned about the addiction to revolution. Those are his words. And he witnessed the overthrow of the Muslim Brotherhood by the Egyptian military firsthand. A lot of interesting things. And we know MaMdani was recently praising Siraj Wahhaj, the extremist New York City Muslim imam who was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the 93 World Trade Center bombing. Well, there's a lot more that you learn about MaMdani's early view on terrorists, on the Muslim Brotherhood, on Egypt from his summer there. Why do we know that? Because he wrote an article in August 2013 for the Bowdoin College student newspaper, and there we got a good sense of his sentiments, his views that I think a lot of people in New York and outside of New York might not agree with. And so people should check that out. It's a remarkable story. It's very detailed. We go into a lot of things. We explain everything because the names don't mean a lot to people. But this is a guy that liked the revolution mindset of Islamists in Egypt that he was witnessing in real time, and maybe explains why he later is so fond of people like the imam from the World Trade Center bombing and others. So pretty important story today for New Yorkers.
Yeah, a very important day for New Yorkers, a very important day for America. And Eddie, who had called just a little bit ago, said, Rita, where are the power brokers? The power brokers are speaking, especially in the last few days, and they are calling Curtis Sliwa to drop out. Many big businessmen are saying, we're sorry. You gave it a great run. But right now, barring any dramatic change in the race, you are clearly the number 3 and have half of what Cuomo has. And if you put your amount with Cuomo and you join forces, maybe MaMdani could be beaten. If you don't, MaMdani will win. I mean, that's a pretty big decision. But you're going to let New York City fall? That's what a lot of people are asking today. And if you look at the cover of even the New York Post, they are saying, time for the red beret to go, basically. Do it for the good of the city, for the good of America. Put New York City first. That's what they're saying. Obviously, it's a big decision. It's a personal decision. But if you look at the numbers, the last thing you can have is a Mayor MaMdani. And right now, that's what's going to happen, barring any dramatic change. And here is John Catsimatidis, of course, owner and operator, as we're talking about bigwigs, big power brokers in New York. I think nobody more powerful than John Catsimatidis, owner and operator of Red Apple Media. He ran for mayor himself, obviously, one of the most successful businessmen in the world. And of course, the former boss of Curtis Sliwa and friend for many years. And here is what he said. He was interviewed on Fox earlier today, and here are his comments.
If it does not become one-on-one with Cuomo and MaMdani, he stays in the race. Does MaMdani then pull off victory?
No, it has nothing to do with billionaires. We're on the wrong track. It has to do with the quality of life in New York. The people, the billionaires, they supply jobs. And it's about the quality of life that Zoran wants to destroy the police department. He said it.
Yeah.
And if you destroy the police department and the mayor gets to pick the judges, if you don't have the judges and you don't have the DAs and you destroy the police department, the quality of life, it goes away. 1% of New Yorkers pay 48% of the taxes.
That's the point Bill Ackman's making.
Okay.
They're mobile. They'll leave and pay their taxes somewhere else.
Absolutely correct.
And here is also John saying the president, who is the head of the GOP, he's made it clear what he thinks needs to happen.
The president has spoken, and he wants all Republicans to vote for Cuomo one-on-one against MaMdani.
And he has been very clear, as John so eloquently says. And here is President Trump earlier today from the White House, because everybody is talking about that race. Here it is.
Well, I looked at the polls, and looks like we're going to have a communist as the mayor of New York. It'll be very interesting. But here's the good news. He's got to go through the White House. Everything goes through the White House, at least this White House it does. And we'll have to see what happens. But if he dropped out, he's not going to win. And not looking too good for Cuomo either. But maybe, I don't know, if he dropped out, maybe Cuomo would have a little bit of a chance, but not much. Because it looks like the lead it's not a great lead, but it's big enough that he should be able to win. So, I don't know that I want to get involved. It's really a question of, would I rather have a Democrat or a communist? And I would rather have a Democrat than a communist.
Will you meet Mamdani if he wins?
Yeah, I'll speak to him. I think I have an obligation to speak to him. But I love New York. I've always loved New York. I just can't believe a thing like this is happening. I left New York, and we had a mayor, de Blasio, who was a disaster. But when I left, it was sort of before he could really take hold. And boy, New York was a hot city, and now it's sad to see what's happening, frankly. And with the communists in charge, look, you just go back 1,000 years. I mean, it's been done many times. 1,000 years. It's never worked once.
And this will be like something New York has never, ever seen if Zoran MaMdani gets in. So what needs to happen tomorrow night? And do you think either Curtis Sliwa or Cuomo can deliver some knockout, something that changes the page, that changes the focus of this race? They need to go after MaMdani. Curtis needs to stop going after Cuomo, and he needs to focus on MaMdani. This is not a race for number 2. It's a race for number 1. And number 1 right now is handily number 1. And his name is Zoran MaMdani. And that breaks my heart. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Judith in Brooklyn on line 2. Go ahead, Judith.
Thank you, Rita. Mamdani's strategy is divide and conquer, okay? I want to say unite and conquer. There is strength in numbers. Cuomo has the momentum 101, not Curtis, according to the polls. What I would love to see is Curtis and Cuomo forming an alliance where Curtis can get a position like in charge of the MTA, perhaps, because the risk, Rita, is way too high. We've got to save New York. We've got to get real. Wishful thinking is worthless. And I have to also say, Rita, MaMdani, wouldn't you love for him to sit there and maybe blame the 19 Muslim terrorists that he loves to hang out with, that murdered 3,000 people? Wouldn't that be nice?
It sure would be. And boy, I would love, there are so many questions I would ask him. I would ask him, will he condemn Sharia law? I'd love to see his reaction to that, because I'm just saying for questions on the stage. You know what? Your point's a good one, Judith. The problem is with a Cuomo issue with Curtis, there's been such bad blood between the two. And Curtis, Curtis has been slamming Cuomo for years upon years upon years. And he wants to be the number 1. He doesn't want to work for Cuomo. And obviously you can't do I wish you could be a co-mayor situation, because that would be obviously the ideal, but that doesn't exist. So Rita, someone's going to have to be the one. I agree with you, Judith. Somebody's got to suck it up for the good of the city.
Well, exactly. So Rita, listen to me. I've got to tell Curtis, he wants to be the captain of the ship. That's nice, but the ship is going down. You're the captain. You have responsibility to save everyone in that ship to get out safe. So don't try to take everybody down with you. Okay, he's not being realistic. I got news for you. Right now, the polls are showing that Cuomo has the upper hand, not Curtis. So Curtis,
by the way, double the number of Curtis in every single poll I've seen.
There you go. So therefore, Curtis can't be. This morning Sid had Cuomo on the air. And Cuomo was saying he would work with Curtis, and he did say that Curtis is strong in the MTA situation.
Yeah, or police commissioner, maybe police commissioner, deputy mayor. There's a lot of things. Curtis, if you listen to him, he is determined to stay in right now. I mean, I haven't heard any inkling from Curtis that he's dropping out. Sometimes people say that and then things change and they drop out. I don't know. I almost don't know if I see any scenario where he will. He seems steadfast, and he seems to resent that people, the comment. I think I saw somebody asking him the comment about, Cuomo would, offer you this or do something. And he just said, no way would I ever work. And he put Cuomo and MaMdani in the same league. And listen, Cuomo's got flaws. There is no doubt. We could spend, hours on that. But the reality is he's not a terrorist sympathizer. And that's what it is on the other side. And Curtis is putting the two of them in the same batch. And they're not in the same batch. Cuomo's far from perfect, but he's not. He doesn't have a father who embraces suicide bombers.
Right. But you know something, Rita? Curtis is not right. He's just not right in this. Because you know what? He has to put himself away and put New York first. Okay. He has to be real. Listen, I sent him 2 donations for Curtis. Okay. I put some money in here, and I'm saying this. I'm not saying my wishful thinking was for Curtis. Absolutely. But reality is it's like with all the polls and everything, he does not right now. He does not have a chance, but Cuomo does. And I'm not saying Curtis should drop out and not have anything. I'm saying they should align together, and Curtis has to really get a little bit more mature about himself and take away your ego. Okay. I don't like Cuomo, by the way. I don't. But what are you going to do? It is what it is. We're trying to save New York because Mamdani, he is a terrorist, people. I just heard stuff today from Mark Levin and stuff on the 5 with you and everything. It is just so unbelievably scary who this Mamdani is and who he hangs out with. I'm telling you, he hangs out with terrorists. These are his friends. Okay.
And Judith, that's the problem. In a normal election year, you hit it on the head. In a normal election year, I never begrudge people for trying and seeing where things go, and good luck on election night. But this is not a normal election year because Mamdani is not a normal election candidate. And he's already signaled that he's going to be part of a national trend. This weekend coming up, Bernie Sanders and AOC, who both pull big crowds, will be doing a big event for him. So the 3 of them are going to be out there. She's already signaling, this is my guy. And there's no doubt in my mind that she's not going to try to run for president. So he's going to start this huge trend across the country and embolden a lot of these other very destructive candidates across this country. So everybody across America better wake up and think whatever they can do to make sure Mamdani doesn't get elected. If you have, friends in New York, and relatives in New York, make sure they get out and vote, because if people don't come out and vote this time, or if it stays the way the race is right now, Judith, he's in singingly. This will be one of the biggest landslides in New York City history. And this will be one of the most dangerous individuals ever, I think, for sure, in New York City history, elected to the mayor's office. People aren't happy with Bill de Blasio. He was a disaster, but he looks like Babe Ruth compared to this guy. And this guy is going to be troubled, Judith. And that's why unconventional things need to happen. Like maybe people who don't like each other partnering together, like you just said, because the risk of losing New York City and seeing protests and seeing a guy who's going to allow it to happen, that's not a good thing to have on anybody's back. And if there's a way to change that, you should change it. At this point, it's pretty clear where the polls are going, barring some big surprise. But boy, it would be a powerful statement if they had already done that. Think about the momentum that could be on the anti-Mamdani end had this happened weeks ago, when the writing was clear on the wall. We are pretty much where we've been for many months now, Judith, and nothing has changed. So final thoughts, Judith. Judith? I don't hear you there. We'll get you back, Judith. We lost you real quick. Let's go to Tony in Clifton. Number 1. Go ahead, Tony. What are your thoughts?
Hi, Rita Cosby. So here's what I'm thinking. Imagine the night that Zoran MaMdani won and New York City is just settling into him becoming the mayor. And the streets are chaotic. People are protesting. There's no police. His orders have been put in place. It may take a week. It may take a few days. The man is all mastermind. He's already put together. He is a product of another world, another group of people. He's manufactured. And he will be ready, Rita, from day one.
Yeah, and imagine also who's going to be teaming up with him. Tony, that's the other thing, too. He's got a huge support network and a huge amount of money. And obviously, all of those folks will be hanging out with him at the mayor's office. That's what we got to worry about. That is one of the biggest concerns. And the protests, you hit it on the head. That is the biggest thing. You think about how many of these cities across America during Black Lives Matter or even these college protests, these pro-Hamas protests that took over so many cities. It's going to be a free-for-all in New York. And that guy is going to tell the police to stand down. And if they try to intervene, he will make sure they're disciplined. It is going to be chaos. And that's a really sad look, but that is a realistic look. And I think that's the least of it, sadly. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue your calls, everybody, after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And coming up on the Rita Cosby Show, we'll continue to talk about the crisis that is Zoran MaMdani. Tomorrow night is the final debate in the New York City mayor's race. And then it will be the last time that you'll see all three of them next to each other, the competitors that are in the race for now. And then early voting starts on Saturday, just a few days away, Election Day, of course, November 4th. And obviously there's the big race for governor in New Jersey and also in Virginia, the governor's race. And don't forget about the attorney general's race there with crazy Jay Jones, who made those comments there talking about violence against the GOP House Speaker years ago. He's running for attorney general there in Virginia. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Bill in Long Island, line 2. Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, Rita. First time, long time.
Oh, great.
I have an idea. I've got an idea that might just clinch it for Curtis Sliwa. And it involves, obviously, Andrew Cuomo.
Tell us real quick. Tell us real quick.
He drops out of the race, and he supports Curtis emphatically and has all his people, vote for him. This does a lot of things for Cuomo. It makes him believable now. Right now, he's got all that baggage of the nursing home and the sexual scandals and everything. This helps him show the world that he's not in it just for himself.
Well, the problem is, Bill, is that Cuomo has twice the numbers as Curtis in virtually every poll. So that's the problem. It's the problem that he's saying, I'm not the one who should drop out. Curtis is the one he's saying that should drop out.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.